The very idea of a second American Civil War is deeply unsettling, a specter that haunts the fringes of our national consciousness. It's a scenario we desperately hope to avoid, yet one we must consider to understand the potential consequences and challenges it would pose. Imagine a nation fractured along deep ideological fault lines, where political discourse has devolved into venomous rhetoric and compromise has become a forgotten art. This hypothetical conflict would not be a clean division between states, but a complex patchwork of loyalties and beliefs cutting through communities and even families. The potential triggers for such a conflict are numerous and varied: a contested election, escalating social unrest, economic collapse, or a combination of these factors could ignite the flames of civil strife. The speed at which such a crisis could escalate is alarming, transforming simmering tensions into open conflict. In this fractured landscape, the military, sworn to uphold the Constitution and defend the nation, would face unprecedented challenges and difficult choices. Its role would be paramount yet fraught with peril as it navigates the treacherous terrain of a nation at war with itself. The stability of the United States rests upon a foundation of shared values and a commitment to democratic principles. However, these foundations have been increasingly strained in recent years by political polarization, economic inequality, and social divisions. A second civil war would represent the ultimate failure of these principles, a descent into chaos and violence that would tear at the very fabric of American society. The potential consequences are staggering: widespread loss of life, economic devastation, and the erosion of our very republic. The mere contemplation of such a scenario is a call to action, a reminder of the fragility of our democracy and the importance of preserving national unity. It underscores the need for open dialogue, compromise, and a renewed commitment to the principles upon which our nation was founded. The alternative is a descent into darkness, a future we must strive to avoid at all costs. The stakes are simply too high to ignore the warning signs. The U.S. military, a symbol of national unity and strength, would not be immune to the divisions plaguing the nation in a second civil war. Just as families and communities would be torn apart, so too would the ranks of the armed forces. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines drawn from every corner of the country hold diverse political views and loyalties that could be tested in such a crisis. The potential for internal fractures within the military is a serious concern, one that could undermine its ability to function effectively and even lead to localized mutinies or defections. The chain of command, a cornerstone of military discipline and effectiveness, could be challenged as individual service members grapple with conflicting loyalties. The oath to uphold the Constitution might be interpreted differently by those on opposing sides, leading to confusion and potential disobedience. The very cohesion of military units could be threatened, undermining their ability to carry out orders and fulfill their missions. The scenario of a fractured military is a nightmare scenario, one that could exacerbate the chaos and violence of a civil war. The military leadership would face the daunting task of maintaining order and discipline within the ranks while navigating the treacherous political landscape. Failure to address these internal divisions could cripple the military's ability to respond effectively to the crisis. The potential for internal conflict within the military underscores the importance of strong leadership, clear communication, and a shared commitment to the Constitution. It also highlights the need for ongoing dialogue and training to address the complex ethical and legal issues that would arise in such a scenario. A divided military would be a grave threat to national security, exacerbating the chaos and violence of a civil war. The President of the United States, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, would hold immense power in a second Civil War scenario. The Constitution grants the President significant authority over the military, including the power to deploy troops domestically in times of crisis. This authority, however, is not unlimited and is subject to legal and constitutional constraints. The President's decisions would have profound consequences, shaping the course of the conflict and potentially determining its outcome. One of the most potent tools at the President's disposal is the Insurrection Act, a law that allows the deployment of federal troops within the United States to suppress civil disorder, insurrection, or rebellion. The invocation of the Insurrection Act is a significant step, one that has been used sparingly throughout American history. It would be a highly controversial decision in a second civil war, potentially escalating tensions and fueling further violence. The legal and political ramifications of using the Insurrection Act would be immense. The president would face immense pressure from all sides with competing demands and conflicting advice. Balancing the need to restore order with the imperative to protect civil liberties would be a delicate balancing act. The president's decisions would be scrutinized intensely, both domestically and internationally, and could have lasting implications for the nation's future. The use of military force against American citizens is a dangerous issue, one that raises serious ethical and constitutional questions. The president's leadership would be critical in navigating this complex and dangerous situation. A measured and judicious approach, guided by the Constitution and a commitment to democratic principles, would be essential to mitigating the violence and preventing the conflict from spiraling out of control. The president's actions would determine not only the outcome of the conflict, but also the future of America. Section 4. The role of state militias, a house divided. The National Guard, a reserve component of the U.S. Armed Forces, would play a crucial role in a second civil war. Unlike the active duty military, which falls under federal control, the National Guard can be activated by state governors to respond to emergencies within their respective states. This dual chain of command creates a potential for conflict, especially in a scenario where states are on opposing sides of a civil war. The loyalty of National Guard units could be divided, with some siding with the federal government and others aligning with their state governments. The activation of National Guard units by state governors could lead to a complex and confusing situation, with different units operating under different authorities and potentially clashing with each other. This scenario could further fragment the military and exacerbate the violence. The legal and constitutional implications of such a situation are unclear, adding another layer of complexity to the already chaotic environment. The potential for clashes between state and federal forces is a serious concern. The role of the National Guard in a second civil war would depend on a variety of factors, including the specific circumstances of the conflict, the political leanings of individual governors, and the loyalty of National Guard members. In some states, the Guard might be deployed to maintain order and protect critical infrastructure. In others, it could be used to support secessionist movements or resist federal intervention. The potential for the National Guard to become a partisan force is a real danger. The divided loyalties of the National Guard underscore the importance of clear communication and coordination between federal and state authorities. Establishing clear protocols for the activation and deployment of National Guard units would be essential to minimizing confusion and preventing clashes between state and federal forces. The failure to address these potential conflicts could further destabilize the nation and escalate the violence of a civil war. Section 5. The moral dilemma of soldiers. In this chapter, we delve into the moral and ethical dilemmas that military personnel face when ordered to march on their fellow citizens. The weight of such decisions will be immense, as soldiers must balance their duty to follow orders with their personal beliefs and the consequences of their actions. Imagine being a soldier sworn to protect your country and suddenly being ordered to confront the very people you vowed to defend. This scenario forces military personnel into a profound moral quandary. On one hand, there is the ingrained duty to obey orders and uphold the chain of command. On the other, there is a deep-seated sense of justice and empathy for fellow citizens. Consider the psychological toll this will take. Soldiers will find themselves facing friends, neighbors, or even family members on the opposite side of the conflict. The emotional strain of such encounters will be devastating, leading to hesitations, refusals, and even mutinies within the ranks. The pressure to conform to military discipline while grappling with personal values creates a volatile mix. The broader implications of these moral dilemmas extend beyond individual soldiers. The cohesion and effectiveness of military units could be compromised, as divisions within the ranks mirror the divisions within society. Commanders will face the daunting task of maintaining order and morale while respecting the conscience of their troops. The potential for disobedience and internal strife will undermine military operations and escalate the chaos. These scenarios highlight the need for clear rules of engagement and robust support systems for military personnel. Ethical training and counseling could help soldiers navigate their internal conflicts and make informed decisions. The military's response to these dilemmas will not only shape the course of the conflict, but will also set a precedent for how such issues are handled in future crises. Ultimately, the moral and ethical dilemmas faced by soldiers in a second civil war underscore the human cost of such a conflict. The choices made by individual soldiers will have far-reaching consequences, affecting the lives of countless people and the future of the nation. Understanding and addressing these dilemmas is crucial for both the military and society as a whole. Section 5. The media's role in shaping the conflict. In any modern conflict, the media plays a pivotal role in shaping public perception and influencing the course of events. In a second civil war, the media landscape would be a battleground in its own right. Traditional news outlets, social media platforms, and independent journalists would all contribute to the narrative, often with conflicting viewpoints. The 24-hour news cycle would amplify every event, and social media would spread information and misinformation at lightning speed. The polarization of media sources could exacerbate divisions within the country as people gravitate towards outlets that confirm their existing beliefs. This echo chamber effect can deepen mistrust and widen the chasm between opposing sides. Propaganda would become a powerful tool used by both federal and state entities to rally support and demonize the opposition. The role of foreign actors in disseminating disinformation cannot be discounted either. The ethical responsibilities of journalists would be put to the test. Reporting the truth in such a volatile environment would be fraught with danger and moral dilemmas. The media's portrayal of events could influence public opinion, sway undecided individuals, and even impact the morale of soldiers and civilians alike. Ultimately, the media's role in a second civil war would be a double-edged sword. It has the potential to inform and unite, but also to mislead and divide. Navigating this complex landscape would require a discerning eye and a commitment to journalistic integrity. The way the conflict is reported could shape its outcome for better or worse.